Hi all, Coach 80 here. Welcome to Thursday Live Office Hours. Got a ton of good stuff today. Helping you build a career you love. Get in the house, say hi. I want to say hi to everybody. I want to say hi to everybody before we get rolling. I see we got a bunch of people piling in the house. Thanks for coming. David, Jack, Tanya, Manny, Kay, Adrian, Donna, Tom, Martha, Dave, Jordan, Yulia, Tom Phillips, everybody else. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let me know where you're watching from. I always love to know that. I just can't get over. I will never, ever let this miracle become common. To me, the fact that I could be speaking in the middle of the day, in the middle of the week, reaching somebody on the other side of the planet, never, never loses its luster on me. So please, if you got any questions, put some question marks in front of your questions. We're going to have a healthy Q&A when I'm done with the teaching package today. Good stuff. If you didn't see it, Job Search Challenge, live 6-day, 6-banger day starts February 16th. If you're not registered, it's in the pin. Please jump in. If you're in my leadership program, we're meeting tomorrow at 11 o'clock to talk about internal mental discipline. All right, what's today all about? Right now, literally today, I'm not exaggerating for a fact, it has never been harder for a job seeker to interview effectively. There is a systemic issue. You may not even know it exists, but I'm going to tell you what it is. I'm going to tell you why it exists, and then I'm going to help you overcome it. And one of the ways we're going to do that, the primary focus of today, is how to ask questions to show your real world experience. The real world part is what's really going to help you overcome this particular issue, and that's the lack of trust. And let me tell you why this exists. I want to bring you back to anybody who's old, like dear old Coach Andy, to the 1990s. And as I walk you through the next couple of minutes to let you know why this exists, I want you to think about everything that you go through in your life at a macro level. When I look at trends, I won't so go far as to say I have a crystal ball, but I think I can see around corners, and I think the flow of what I'm about to tell you is going to explain to you why and how you can too. But I think it's important that you understand how we got here and what you're dealing with right now. So if you go back to the 1990s and you think about the world and how we operated, it was very services focused, business to business services. And even if they had products, it didn't matter. Companies really wanted to focus on providing excellent service. Everything from the widgets that were created and how they were implemented into your life or used, to going in and sitting in a restaurant and the server pours you the coffee or delivers you the food. Everything was about service, and it was really, really noted and valued. And when 2000 hit, the world changed, and it had two different ways it considered the world. We had information that we had never had before. And really what I should say is information at the ease of our fingertips, because the internet was so prevalent now and people were familiar with it by this time. It had been around for a number of years. That information really drove a lot of behavior, but also what drove behavior was the experience economy, or the experience phase. Think about when you went into a Starbucks and overpaid for that coffee, because you got to sit down in a comfy chair and maybe talk with a friend or have a business meeting. Heck, a lot of interviews were going on in the early 2000s in Starbucks, and the world valued that. And by the time 2010 rolled around, we started to see people like me getting onto internets, teaching, coaching. Educational services were a big thing, and you could learn at a deeper level than ever before instantly. You had a plethora of things to choose from. Anything that you wanted to learn, there was probably someone on the internet who was teaching it, and that became very, very valuable to people. By the time 2020 rolled around, there were a lot of people that were coaching in whatever their topic was, becoming influencers, lots of followers, lots of subscribers. And what businesses did was to take advantage of that reach, because people buy what's in front of them online. And so if I have a way to circulate my product through individuals, the only problem with that is those individuals didn't know what they were talking about, because that was not their primary area of expertise. Also, people like you who believed those influencers, you went off and bought the products and realized they weren't all the rave that they were going on about. And so the lack of trust started to form. It's one of the reasons why show of hands, has anybody ever seen me promote anything? I have maybe on a couple of fingers where I actually gained a commission, but for 1 or 2 products tops that I don't promote anymore and won't promote anymore because my reputation is entirely too valuable to me and no amount of money is worth risking it. And so I'm very cautious about that, but not everybody subscribes to that philosophy, nor need they do that. But that issue, that lack of trust, is the same issue that you are now facing as a job seeker. The reason that the influence and their ability as an influencer is fading is for the same reason you're having a tougher time in the interview, because trust is at an all-time low. And why is that? Because you don't get anything for free. Because in the wake of the influencer economy, or whatever you want to call it, also, you got AI on the heels of that. And over the last few years, while AI has been wonderful in making our lives easier, the problem with that is you don't get anything for free. Because when you go into a job interview, if you can get the interview, the employer's thinking, well, first thing is I'm flooded with resumes that all look the same. They've all been written by bots or messages that look like they've been written by bots. And so does this person even know what they're talking about? And if you can manage to get past all of that, maybe you backdoor your way in. However, when you get into the interview, their trust, the interviewer's trust in what you've accomplished is at an all-time low. So you are starting in a bigger pit than you ever have before. Did you write the resume? Did you actually achieve that? Is that accolade actually accurate? Trust is at an all-time low. Now, it's not your fault. Okay, what do I always say? It ain't your fault, but it is your problem, and that's why I'm here for you, and that's why we're going to address today. Cool? Okay, so how do we overcome this trust issue? And if you really want to think about trends, what's next? Think about what's next, right? It was the services, then the experience and information, then teaching, then influencing, now lack of trust. So what's next? I don't know that that's really a question to be answered at the moment, but it's something to think about. All right, so one of the things I want to do before we get into the formula I want to give you today is I want to talk about when you ask questions in an interview. Let's start with the basics. I'm going to give you my 3 favorite questions that any of you can ask. You can just ask them this way if you want to. This is the most rudimentary way to ask them. It will yield great information, but you're leaving a little meat on the bone. So this is the 101 level, not the 401 level. And we're going to go through this quickly because this isn't the primary thrust of today. What does success look like? What problems are standing in our way of achieving that success? And what value would you attach to that success once we, us, however, the team achieve it? Those are if I only got to ask 3 questions to my hiring official, these would be the 3. Cool? Not too tough. Why do you want to ask, what does success look like? First thing is, remember, you're evaluating asking these 3 questions in and of themselves will sell you. We want you to be able to sell yourself by asking questions. And when you do that, if you ask the success question, the first thing that's going to happen is at least you are now going to understand, hopefully at a detailed level, what constitutes success so that you can gauge, is that reasonable? Am I a brand new salesperson and you want me to sell $1 million in consulting services, but no one in the history of your company has ever been able to sell $1 million in consulting services in their first year, right? You're trying to gauge, are they loony? Are they off their rocker? Or does that sound reasonable? Could I do that based on my history and my track record? Would I be able to do that? Do I have the resources to do that? So you are trying to ascertain that. Now, the other reason that you want to ask this question is because you're going to be getting information that's going to help you understand how to sell yourself. So now you can go into, well, if this is success, here's how I would accomplish that. So now they can envision you doing it. That's why you want to ask that question. The next thing is, well, what problems are standing in our way? We don't have enough budget. We have misalignment. No one knows who we are. We're not a well-known brand, whatever it might be, whatever the problems are. If you've given 10 minutes of forethought to your interview, you should know what all of the potential problems are that they are likely encountering. What you will not know is what their specific problems are, but that's okay because you're going to plan for every possible problem. And then what are you going to do? Tell them exactly how you would solve those problems. That's why you want to answer this question. Then you want to ask them, once I achieve this goal, what value are you going to assign to that achievement? Meaning, is it going to be $2 million? That's $2 million in revenue. Awesome. That's $1 million in profit. Fantastic. Oh, you mean if we implement the project on time and on budget, we not only are going to help streamline our customer platform, make the customer service rep's job easier, but we're also going to gain political capital, and it's going to make our life infinitely easier because we now are not going to have to fight as hard with the businesses to get them to open up the purse strings so we can implement the great technologies that we want to. It's going to make our credibility go up. It's going to make our ability to sell future projects easier. Great. Maybe that's priceless. I don't know. Put something down. Give me a view of why it matters. Why do I want to ask this question? Because when you get to the negotiating table, you are now armed with an ability to move their eyeballs off your cost and onto the value. You said it's going to be worth $2 million when I achieve that. A $100,000 salary sounds like peanuts in relation to that. Well, how hard has it been to get your projects approved? If I implement that on time and on budget like we expect that I will, isn't that worth something more than $100,000? You get what I'm saying? So I just want to level set us. These are my 3 favorite questions. Rapid fire. You can ask them all at once. You want all the answers and you want it in detail. Cool? The 101 level. Oh, I want every one of you to ask these questions. Now, here's what happens when your trust is low and you're doing everything possible to gain a leg up on all the other candidates. You're doing everything you can to impress them, to help them understand that you know what you're doing. When you tell stories in a job interview, like I coach you to do, and I don't want to go off the rails here on storytelling because I really want to focus on question asking. But one of the things I spend a lot of time doing when I'm helping people with their stories is, when I help people with their stories is I say to them, if you're ever in this situation, we've organized your story according to my CAR technique. It's CAAR. You have context, 2 parts to the approach, and then a result. But the context really foreshadows the result as well. When you tell them this story in an organized fashion, you might be telling them a story about your past that doesn't completely align to their future. And what's really important for an interviewer is to ascertain how you are going to operate in their environment. Whether they know they're doing that or not, it doesn't matter. That's the easiest way for them to know whether you will be a good hire. If you're focused on your past, it's really, really difficult for them to understand how to translate what you did in an environment they do not know or understand and translate it into their environment. And one of the easiest ways for you to do that, even if you've never operated the project the way you'll need to or sold the widget that they have, is when you're walking them through your story, you interrupt your story and you say, and here's how I did this. In your environment, we'll also need to do this, this, and this because your product is like this and that product was like that. You take a few seconds, you move them into the future, and what that's doing for them is it's getting them to see that you truly understand what to do and will know what to do when you get there. That says to them, you have a wider range of experience than the story you're telling me right now. And the more real world experience and the more in alignment experience you have with what they do, the staggeringly higher, exponentially higher you go up on their radar. So when you're asking a question, the same principle applies. So what does that look like? It's called preloading the answers. And why do we want to do this? We want to ask a question. We want to give them their answers so they can choose from our list that we give them. And what that does is a number of things. Number one, it gives them an understanding that you have real world experience. It's a wide range. but it also gives you an opportunity to follow up their response with exactly how you would handle what's important to them. So let's look at this in practice. What does this mean? So let's go back to the success question. What does success look like? You can ask that question and ask them for the detail. Or you can follow up with that with, okay, with those success parameters, is it more important that it's speed to market, quality of output, consistency over time, or something else? So you're giving them a multiple choice. So you can say, I'd love to know what success looks like, and based on your parameters, is the most important thing about success the speed we get it up and running, the quality in the first version or the 10th version, the consistency over time? You're giving them multiple choice answers. And then when they give you their answer, you're then going to tell them how to make that happen. So if you need speed, the fastest way to do that would be this. If the quality output needs to be 100% in the first version, the fastest way to get to that would be this way. So you're going to tell a story. You're going to bounce on top of their story with whatever they answer. What does that look like in the problems? This might be even a little easier for you to see. But when something goes wrong and you're not able to achieve those goals, I know you said you have a lack of budget as your primary problem. So we will need a business case in order to show them that the ROI is there. But whenever you have problems in your organization, and you're unable to achieve your goals as a result of them, is it usually because the priorities aren't in alignment, the execution was poor, there were competing initiatives that drew people's attention, or there were a misalignment across groups that stalled the project? And then you're going to tell them how you've handled each one of these. Or even if you've never handled it before, you will tell them the solution, because it's never been easier in the history of the world also to AI something and educate yourself. So this is what I mean. You will always front load it. Now, I'm only giving you a couple of examples here, but you can pick this for any question that you feel is meaty and you want to have further discussion, or you want to flex your muscle about how much you know. Same kind of thing. When you preload the value question, okay, where will the value show up first? Do you want it to show up in speed, revenue, cost savings, quality, or risk reduction? Something like that. And so now what you can do is you can say, well, in order to ensure we're able to show it in revenue, here's what we'll do. If you want to accelerate the launch of it, here's what we'll do. So this, to me, are these front loading of your questions, or what I call preloading. This, to me, is letting their answers determine your stories. But what it's really doing is it's showing that you already know all the scenarios. And so if you're ever telling a story in a job interview, your story may or may not map exactly to what they're doing. So what you want to be able to do is you want to extend your story, not lengthen it, not be verbose, not put a lot of dead weight or inertia in it. I'm talking about showing alignment between what you do and have done and how it fits into what their environment and what it will look like. But also, should you encounter something that they likely have encountered or will encounter, that you know what to do. And so to really drive this home and to combat that trust problem, I spelled it out for you. When you are answering questions and you're telling a story, you want to tell it the schematic. You want to tell it to the level of context and heft that you can get in there about the level of importance of why you're doing something. But the way in which you answer a question, meaning tell a story, shows your competence and knowledge. When you supplement that with good questions, it shows experience that you know what to look for. When you give them a structured question that is preloaded, you're showing not only competence and experience, but you're also showing excellent judgment. So just to recap it, what I want you to do is I want you to, as much as possible, pick whatever questions are the meatiest, juiciest, or the ones that are going to get you having a real world conversation with them, the most that will give you the chance in order to flex your subject matter expertise, your experience, as well as your troubleshooting or analysis skills. Just remember, I want you to preload their answers in your question. That'll show them that not only do you understand, but it will also give you something to immediately address with a follow-up portion to your story or with a new story of how you would address it. Cool? Okay, quick one today. I just wanted to make sure that you're thinking about this. I want you to have every leg up. Trust is at an all-time low for so many reasons. You're going to need to be able to overcome it and overcome it quickly. This is one way to do it. If you're interested in more on how to do it when you the way you structure your answers to their questions, check out my videos, CAAR, or my job interviewing playlist on my YouTube channel. If you enjoyed this, please click the like button, subscribe to the station. Make sure you are sharing this with people because a lot of people need job searching help. If you're here with me live, we're going to the chat. If you're watching this on the recording, I'll see you next week. All right, that's it. Put that on 2 times speed. Okay, let's see. We've got some questions, but before we get to the questions, I want to, let's see. I want to talk about a couple of things. We have a job search challenge starting February 16th. I'm smiling because, well, it makes me freaking happy because this is my most epic, most awesome, favorite of mine, probably highest value job searching related workshop that I run. I run it once a year. There is a training program inside the milewalk Academy Premium Library that members of the job search coaching program, that's my signature job searching program, they have access to a product called the Job Search Challenge. Others can buy it on its own for $500. It has a number of videos in it. And once a year, I generally unlock the teaching, whether I replay what's inside the library, but I won't be doing that this year. I'm actually creating all new content. So you're going to get probably what amounts to about 15 hours of free coaching. If you would like to stop on by every day, I'm going to teach. I'm going to teach you on Monday, February 16th. I'm going to teach you the blueprint. On Tuesday, the 17th, I'm going to teach you how to take control of your search by identifying the right target companies. On Wednesday, the 18th, I'm going to be teaching you how to find the right people inside organizations that you want to work for. On Thursday, I'm going to teach you what to say to those people. And on Friday, we're actually going to build your job search plan together so that you can actually start the following week in earnest with a plan that you can actually operate. And so each day I'm going to teach, we're going to do some Q&A. I'm going to have a case study. I've got a round of I've been case studying for a month now, and I got a whole bunch of editing to do on case studies I got to bring you from people that were hugely successful in the very recent past or currently or just are starting their jobs actually next week. Some of them started last week, so these are pretty hot off the press. And we'll do some Q&A. And then on Monday night, February 23rd, I'm going to have kind of a close-up session with more Q&A, a little bit more information about my job search coaching program. And then that's going to be at 5 p.m. The other sessions are at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. And the 23rd is at 5. And then I'm going to have 3 days of additional coaching, the 24th, 25th, and 26th with members of my job search coaching program. Those are private. They're on Zoom. Ton of fun. So some of you are going to see me like almost every day for 2 weeks. So it's free, completely free to attend the Job Search Challenge. And anybody who's in the Job Search Coaching Program, I will be dropping the new teaching into the library and assimilating it into the product and replacing out the old teaching. And this new teaching is also going to have AI embedded in every step of the process so that you can see how I would use AI to augment the searching process. It's all very current. It's very cool. It's very fun. I love giving it to you. So I hope you show up and don't miss it like a silly head. And I do have a follow-along workbook. So while this is on YouTube, I would encourage you to actually sign up and grab the workbook. We send it on Sunday, the 22nd, but you need to be on my email list to get it. Let's see, what else? That's really it on that. It's really going to be a fun event. It's just so fun. It really is. I love doing it. And one other thing, tomorrow, I want to show you where we are in the leadership program. I have a leadership coaching program. That's different than my job search coaching program The job searching is about job searching, and the leadership is about career development. We have a show tomorrow. If you are at all interested in it, maybe Kara can drop the link. I'm not going to explain the program. We meet other than 2 minutes. We meet every month. I teach my latest and greatest strategies. For all of 2026, we're focusing on communication and influence, although there is a more than 100 lesson library with video lessons, workbooks, practices, challenges, and everything related to anything you can imagine that skill-wise that you need to build for your career. And so just to show you where we are on the 2026 map, let me see if I could pull this up really quick. This here is the communication and influence portion. If you click this from the main page, in January, we put the skill plan together. That was actually 2 weeks ago we met. That replay is available. Tomorrow, we're talking about internal mental discipline, focus, self-awareness, a few other things related to habits of communicating. That's tomorrow. And then in a month, March, we're going to be talking about reading the room, how to understand who you're dealing with, what they're going through, and all of that good stuff, how to be observant, how to pick up on cues, social cues, and those kinds of things. If you want to check out what the rest of the year includes, it's all communication related. You can check out the page. That's all I'm going to say about that. Now, I am 4 minutes ahead of where I wanted to be, but I knew I was going to have a good show today. I knew I was going to be dancing to the right beat. So let's dive right in. If you have any questions about the leadership program or the job search challenge, let me know. And the job search coaching program, not to thoroughly confuse you, is on special for the next, I don't know, two to 3 weeks. Okay. Got any questions? You let me know. Andrew, I have an AI interview, one-way video, HireFlix interview. What should I expect? I'm wondering, it could be HireFlix. I know that there was a company, HireVue, and the reason I mention HireVue is because if you go to my YouTube channel and you look for the HireVue, if you just search HireVue, HireVeu, a couple of years ago, I got with the then CEO, Kevin. I think he's retired now, but he walks you through what to expect from what they call an on-demand interview. So basically, they're going to flash a question. You are going to record your answer. And so I would just check that out. Also, Andrew, I think if you're my Andrew, you're in the boot camp. We talk about one-way video interviews in the interview intervention course as well. But effectively, they're going to ask a question and you're going to respond. And if you are going through a one-way interview in the beginning of a process, it's usually the screening questions. So you're not going to be diving into major car stories. I wouldn't think so. But check out those videos. I have some that are very short, like 3 to 5 minutes. And then I have the HireVue interview with Kevin is about an hour. And it's an hour with him. And I think it's maybe another 30 minutes of questions that the community asked him. Check that out. Tracy, let's see. You excited to have an in-person interview today? Love it. Last in-person interview was 10 years ago. Whoa. I will bring resume, mints, no pay. Oh, God, don't you worry. Okay. Here's what I want you to do. Okay, so before you go into the interview, I literally want you to spend 15 minutes, get there 15 minutes early, go somewhere, sit somewhere, and just think about who you're going to be meeting with, what they might be going through, and the fact that they've invited you in because they need your help. And I don't know what time your interview is, but if it's 2:00 in the afternoon, then they've had however 6 hours of work day. A lot of things could go wrong. They might be tense. They might be uptight. Who knows? We want to be gentle with them. The other thing is you have to remind yourself of what success looks like. So here are some pre-communication principles. And I also have a video on my YouTube channel about the best pre-interview ritual. So if you want to check that out, I put that out a couple of weeks ago. But the second thing you want to do after you go through your empathy reminders, number one, the second thing is what's the goal of the interview? Now, what you might say is, well, duh, Andy, I want a job. That's not the goal of the interview. The goal of the interview is to get them to connect with them, to do the best you possibly can, to serve them, and make sure they walk away better people for having met you. If you do that and you focus on that, you make the connection, you have an opportunity to tell your story, you have an opportunity to practice your story, you have an opportunity to gather data that you can then think about and reflect on to tune your communication skills. All of those are goals of the interview. And yes, the ultimate goal of the interview is to get the next interview. That's it. It's not to get all your questions asked and answered. That's not the goal of the interview. And notwithstanding what we talked about today, of course I want you to ask questions, but that is really about selling yourself and gathering information second, and that would in turn help get you the next interview. So my greatest piece of advice to you is relax. That will do you better than trying to cram and memorize answers and all that other stuff. So I would not be bringing breath mints in. I would bring your notepad, bring your questions. You don't want to do anything where there's anything strong smelling. You don't want to wear perfume. You don't want to wear cologne. Please wear deodorant if that's your thing. It's my thing. I put deodorant on for you because I think you might be able to smell me through the camera. You know what I'm saying? Nothing distracting. Okay, what's next? I'm not sure, Kane, Doe, JMC. Any way to ask these, I'm assuming you mean the big three, at the beginning of an interview? Sure. One of the things that I would do is you could take a shot with the recruiter and say, hey, I know you might or might not know this, but when I talk to the hiring official, if I have the opportunity to talk to him or her, what would they say success look like? What do you know what their current challenges are? If the recruiter says, I don't know specifically what the challenges are, then you're going to say to the recruiter, has the hiring official told you there were any particular skill sets that were greatly important or any experience that were must-haves? Because that would be an indication of what problems they likely need to overcome. Spoon feed the recruiter, right? You could do this. All right, then the recruiter's going to give you some stock. Then when you're in the interview, depending on if it's a back and forth interview, and depending on who you're speaking to, sometimes you might be down toward the end speaking with a senior executive who's maybe a sign-off person or a pull-in person, meaning they're there to sell you. And they might say to you, hey, do you have any questions for me? And you could say, you know, I talked with Joe, and Joe said success for him and the team looked like boom, boom, boom. I'd love to hear your version of what success looks like and what you feel the biggest obstacles would be. Like, you could start with those to the executives as well, because those are really good higher level questions as well, not just specific to your team, but also in relation to the overall organization. Maybe that team is contributing to a number of parts that senior manager is managing. And so there, depending on how the interview goes, it's great to get them out as early as possible. And here's another thing. Many of you, not all, but many, because a lot of people in my community are fairly senior, you're going to talk to the hiring official multiple times. So if you go through an interview, so I coached somebody the other day, and actually, unfortunately, I mean, truth be told, his interview actually got canceled because I think they put the position on hold. But one of the things I told him was he was going in for a 30-minute interview with his potential boss. And there are 4 key things that make the 30-minute interview fly. Likability factor, alignment, cultural alignment, position alignment, the one story you tell, because it's only 30 minutes, and the questions you ask. That's what makes the 30-minute interview fly. So, meaning that's what makes you score well. Well, in the back portion of the 30 minutes, the hiring official is likely just wanting to get to know you, just to see, can you walk and chew gum? Do you smile? Do I like you? Are you even remotely close? And if you are, you're likely going to have another session. Now, the first interview might be 60 minutes. Same thing applies. Everything gets elongated. But when you ask those questions, what does success look like? Problems standing in our way, and value, now you've teed up a lot of discussion for the next round. So it's not, don't just think inside the interview, think chessboard, think the whole game. Don't just think screen, hiring official, or screen, tech review, hiring official, senior management, peers, internal customers. You get the whole thing. It's a great question. Denise, what type of questions can you ask a I'm assuming you mean a third-party HR or search firm in a screening interview? They tend to specifically ask for your resume and you get flustered for some reason. Number one, don't. There's no need for you to get flustered. Number two, how long have you been working with this client? How many people have you placed there? What are the most common individuals that you place? Meaning just because you placed 10, have you placed any customer service reps? Have you placed any project engineers or system engineers or whatever you are, marketers? You want to get a sense. When you've placed those individuals as well as all the others, what are the key traits that they look for? What carries the day, right? What are the skill sets that they're looking for? Based on my background, what do you think they'd be most interested in? And so on. You're asking through questions. So you're not just trying to impress the executive recruiter or the HR firm. You're trying to get data so that when you immediately go into the interview, you have it. Now, I, as an executive recruiter, would evaluate you based on your wants. So your wants screen you out first, because even if you're qualified and you look absolutely awesome on paper, if your requirements or desires or needs do not align, then I'm not moving you through. So what do I mean by that? I would say, okay, Denise, what do you need in your next role? Okay, Andy, I really like to be a project manager. And anything else? Denise, do you have family? Can you travel? Well, I can only travel 20%. I'm looking at an 80% travel. Bang, you're out. Doesn't matter who you are. Doesn't matter. I don't care if you are the number one project manager in the world. You're not getting an interview with my client because you just said you can only travel 20% because you got 5 kids at home. Okay, that's what I mean by wants. So you want to share, but you also want to make sure you don't overshare. Now, what's happening is I'm looking at what you want and your qualifications. That's step one. If we agree you're a good match and you're a good fit, those are two separate things. Then I move you into the interview process with my client. But before you would go in, I would prep the hell out of you. You and I would spend 1 hour prepping for your 30-minute interview. Okay, so if it's an executive search firm and they are not doing that for you, that executive search firm sucks. Okay, if it's, hey, go Denise, go talk to them, that's terrible. That's just awful because you are their responsibility. Not only that, you are a reflection of them. And if I went to the trouble of putting you in front of my client, I'm going to make damn certain that you show well because my reputation is on the line, right? I want them coming to me when they need people, and I want them confident that whoever I send is going to be is a good fit and can do a great job. So that's how you want to approach that. And one other thing, Denise, I know you are a boot camper, but there is a fantastic video that I, if I do say so myself, have put out there about how to work with executive search. I think it's titled Third-Party Search Firms and Executive Recruiters. It's on my channel. It's like 45 minutes, and I go into all the whys, wherefores, and hows and whats. So check that out. Laura 2026. Well, aren't you current? Majority of my interviews run out of time and I don't get to ask enough questions, only 3 minutes left. As they keep talking about the role and asking me basic questions, how should you approach? First thing I want you to do is I want you to completely erase in your mind what you just typed to me. Your interviews never, ever run out of time. I need this to register. The only goal you have in an interview is to get the next interview. If I get zero chance to ask any questions, I don't care. Did I give them what they needed in order to make a good decision to keep moving me? What's the worst case scenario? You go through 5 interviews, don't get to ask one question, and they want to give you an offer. Okay, now that's not likely going to happen, but that's an extreme example because if they want to give me an offer, then I don't have to take it until I get all my questions asked and answered. And the later I do that, the better it is for me, because now if they want to give me an offer, they've invested in me and they want me to take it. So they're going to fall all over themselves to answer whatever I have. If you're worried about carving more time out to get questions answered in your interview, you are giving them less time to let you sell yourself. And the other thing you need to know is whoever talks more in the interview thinks it went better. So if you said they're talking about the role, let them talk. Because the more information that's they're dispensing, the more intel you have in order to sell yourself in alignment with what they need. The more I know about the role, the better I can sell my fit. So don't worry. If you got 3 minutes left, hey, I know you might not be able to get to all this. What does success look like? What are the problems standing in the way? And what value would you attach? Ask it all at once. See what they can say. And then you can pick it up later. Don't care. I understand. Yes, coach, aren't I evaluating them too? Yes, but you get the whole process to do that. There is not a company worth their salt that wouldn't take extra time to have the recruiter answer whatever questions you needed and to have a hiring official answer whatever questions you needed. And I'm telling you, if the hiring official is too busy to answer your questions to make sure you're making a good decision, that ought to be the hugest red flag, and you shouldn't even want the offer. So think of it in those terms. You are there to sell yourself in the interview. I don't care how many questions you get to ask. If they run out of time and you didn't get to ask questions, you can say, you know what, I have a lot of questions. If I got down to the end and I had 3 minutes, here's what I would do. Literally 57 minutes in, I'd say, you know what? I got a ton of questions. I want to know what success looks like, the problems, strategy, direction, and so on. But you know what? Let me hold those because it's more important that I fully understand that what you're looking for and that I fit the bill. And then I would go into the close and reassure them that I'm the right person. I would rather be spending my time asking their question, answering it for them, and then telling them what I think. So let me understand. We've just spent nearly an hour. It sounds like this is the role, and here's what you need: a person that can. Boom, boom, boom. I hope that in the 57 minutes we spent, I explained to you how, with my background, I'm able to do that. Boom, boom, boom. I'm super excited about the role. I'd love to know what's the next step, by when's that going to happen, and who's going to contact me. Like, that's how I would spend my 3 minutes. So just start thinking that way, and don't worry. They'll answer your questions. They will. You should be worried about getting more time. That's the trick. Okay, great question though. All right. Echo, Tango, Suitcase. I don't know where that's going. I have 3 decades of experience and I can get brain lock when I get to tell me about myself question because too much comes to mind. Do you have a suggested technique for quickly unfreezing? Okay, I love this question, but it's 2 separate questions. One is I wouldn't even think about freezing. And if you do what I mentioned to Tracy in the first question, that'll help. But the second and more important part of your question is the tell me about yourself. When I tell you about me, I could get my entire 40-year work history nearly down to 26 words. That's a general statement if I needed to. However, if I sat down with just you and you were interviewing me for your coach, I would want to make sure that in advance we had some kind of exchange so I knew who you are, what you were about, what you needed. You already know who the company is, who the interviewer is, what position you're be interviewing for, likely over a 90% chance. You know what their goals are. You know what their problems are. So why is this important? Because I'm only going to describe myself in the context of what you need to know. So as an example, if you came to me and I only had 1 minute to explain to you that I was the right coach for you, and I knew you were a 55-year-old male that lived in California, and you were an insurance agent, and you couldn't find work. Okay? So what I would say is, I'm a career coach who's been an executive recruiter and a corporate practitioner. I've got 38 years under my belt. I've got programs built from that experience aimed at helping middle-aged white male insurance agents get jobs on the West Coast. Okay, like that's how I would describe myself to you. Or I could say, I've helped 437 middle-aged white dudes get insurance jobs on the West Coast. Do you care about the women in Sweden or the guys in Germany or the people in Asia Pac or all the high-performance coaching I do? No. So why would I waste any time telling you that? Now, I could probably aggregate it to the company and the team, but you have more data than anybody else, and that makes it easier for you to pick and cherry pick and choose what you're going to tell them. So your issue is you're thinking about you. I'm not thinking about me. I'm thinking about you. I'm thinking about who is this person? Who is this man? Who is this woman? Who is this team? What are their goals? What are their products? What are their services? How has what I done affect my ability to transform them? Your work history is just a bunch of decades of work, most of which are meaningless to them. That doesn't mean what you've done is meaningless, but at this moment, right now, they have a problem. All they care about is how are you going to solve it? That's all you need to say. So if you want to know how I'm going to do that, then I can take another minute to explain the mechanics. But the reason you're getting flustered or tongue-tied or whatever is because you want to tell them about you. I want to tell you about me in the context of what you need to know about me so that you can make a great decision to know that I'm the person that's going to transform your life. That's how you need to think. Also, one thing, Echo Tango, that I would do is I would watch my How to Introduce Yourself video, and it's about an hour long because I break it all down for you. I explain everything, and then I run through examples with people live on the camera, and you can see me break them down into under 1 minute. I introduce them to themselves. I talk to them live after never having seen their resume. I basically pulled their resume up blind, and then I talk to them, and then I introduce themselves to them. I introduce them to themselves in under a minute. We clocked it. I have a little timer going on the thing. So check that out. It'll help you distill down a year, 10 years, 20 years, 40 years of work into under 60 seconds. And then you can go on, and if they want more detail, you can walk them through your resume or whatever is germane. So that's a great question and a common struggle, but that's because you're thinking about you, not them. Okay, let's see. What do we got? How we doing on time? Are you guys enjoying this? Can I get a show of hands? Can I get a show of hands really quick? Who signed up for the job search challenge? Can I just see? It hurts me when y'all don't come to these free 6-day workshops. I pour my heart and my soul. If you think this is amped up, just wait till February 16th, which is the next time a lot of you are going to see me, because I have to rest. I have to get primed. I have to get mentally charged so I could be my highest self to give you the best instruction. Okay, Kara, can we, I know it's in the pin, but maybe we, Douglas, I know you're signed up, man. Come on, that's love. Trish Berry, all right. Slacker JB, I bet you're anything but. Kelly Kennedy, love that you're coming. Anka Hansen, beautiful. David Silver, you know I'm calling you out. I'm gonna look at the chat. You know I'm gonna literally. I have time on my calendar right at when we're done. I'm gonna have some lunch because I got an afternoon full of stuff, and I got time to watch all this with the chat on. And I'm gonna look to see whose hand is not pink and wavy and signed up to my job search challenge. It is Michelle Mitchell. It is the best. I love it. I love it. And Kara doesn't know when I'm going to mention videos. I just tell her a few things, and then I normally miss like 80% of what I'm supposed to tell her, and she's so fast, I don't even worry about it anymore. Come on, if you're not signed up, get signed up. Who's coming to my leadership program session tomorrow? Y'all need this mental discipline. Internal. Let's get internal. Okay, on to the next one. What do we got? The bookkeeping teacher. How do I express that I left a company because I did not agree with leadership direction, but do not come across as complaining or not as a team player? It could be a couple of things. Now, it would really be helpful, not as a cop out, if I could talk to you and understand all the scenarios. But let me just take a guess. So you don't like where they're going, and that's okay. The top 3 reasons why senior people generally leave their job. Now, there's a million reasons, but the top 3, I don't like my boss. I don't believe in the corporate vision anymore, kind of like what you said, and I'm not learning anything. And so that's usually why people seek opportunities. Now, there's a number of other reasons, compensation and so on, but compensation is a lot lower on the ladder than you would think. And so what you could do is you could say, the company decided it was going to make this a primary strategy in the organization, and my forte is this. And I have worked. Now, then there's other elements to your story. If you've only worked there 6 months, that's different than if you worked there 6 years. If you worked there 6 years, you'd say, and as you can see, I've been there 6 years. I really love the organization. I like the team. I like what we've done, but this new direction is really moving away from my forte and my love. And so it was just a good time for me to look and investigate and see what's out there. So you could say that. Now, certain other pieces need to be in place for you to do that. But without seeing your resume and looking at everything holistically, try to build around that. That's a great one. And then Rose, XI8BS. Well, this isn't going to be BS, Rose. Should reference letters be tailored to the position I applied for? I can't imagine having to bother people for references for every job I apply for. Rose, good news for you. Don't ever ask anyone, literally for the rest of your life, to write a reference letter for you. Nobody wants to read them. I don't want to read your cover letter and your resume. I certainly don't want to read a reference letter from somebody I don't know who's going to say nice things about you. What is that going to do for me? I need to talk to you and use my own evaluation process and judgment to see if I like you. Now, I don't want to just cut the answer there. So wait, I stand firm by that. Don't anybody ever send me a reference letter. I don't care who you are. I will never ask you for one. And any company that asks you for a reference letter, that's ridiculous. Okay, second thing is, if they ask you for references, I have a whole video on how to handle the reference process from A to Z, meaning when you apply online, which I never want you to do, because if you come to the Job Search Challenge, you're going to learn how never to do that, because it's a total waste of time for most of you, really, for not just most, the vast majority, 99%. And so what happens is when you do apply online, they ask for references. I take you from that spot and what to put in all the way to when you're going to get your job offer and what to do and along the way. Check that video out. Great question, but no, don't ever ask anybody to take any time to write a reference letter. And much of the time, what did we just get done talking about? You're either going to write the reference letter for them and they're going to put their name on it, or you're going to write the reference letter using AI and they're going to put their name on it, or they're going to write the reference letter with AI and put their name on it. I don't care about any of that. I didn't even care before AI tools were available, and I really don't care now. So that's how I would think about that. All right. Desiree Carlin. Oh, Desiree Carlin. Okay. Best way to write a resume if you're just returning to the workforce after being out of work for 7+ years to raise a family. That markets me well to employers. All right, Desiree, number one, kudos to you. Raising the family is literally the most important thing that any parent can do. That's what I think. I'm not a parent. I'm a fur baby parent, but raising my dogs, I take that seriously. I know they sleep a lot, and one of them is upside down sleeping with her head cranked. I wish you could see this. I think I might even just take a picture and show you, because it is that cute. Because this is what happens when Coach Andy is doing his show. Okay, so when you are writing a resume and you have a gap, if you have a gap in your resume, then what you want to do is you start wherever it was 7 years ago. That's your top of your work experience, your professional experience section. And then what you do is, just make sure I'm getting this. Where's my little, oh, it's not. Hang on 1 second. And this is very, very important that Coach Andy shows you what he deals with. Okay. when you are writing the resume, there's a career profile, there's career highlights, and then there's your work experience. Your work experience is going to end in 2018 or 2019 or 2017 or whenever that was. They'll see that. Then you're going to have some highlights. The highlights that are just above the professional experience are going to show you or show them the key areas that you've done that apply to what they need and how you're going to help them. Meaning, if you've helped other companies do those things, then you likely can help us do those things. In the top, where there's the career profile, you're going to put a summary. There, I have resume videos out there that are free on my YouTube channel that'll help you with this. But at the end of the career profile, you're going to put a sentence in that says, let me just make sure I got this correct. Returning to the workforce after 7 years caring for family. That's it, period. Hard stop, done. And now they're going to know, why hasn't she worked since 2018? And that's it. Cool. And there's a lot more color. There's a lot more color in on the YouTube channel. Okay, wait. I'm not kidding you. I hope I actually can show you this. Can you see this? This is, hang on. This is what I look at when, hey, I know you're probably seeing everything. You see this? This is what it looks like. And I try not to crack up. I try not to crack up, but it's pretty funny. Is it not? Can we all give Starla a huge shout out? That's my girl dog. And this is how much she thinks. This is what she thinks of Coach Andy's session. Cool, eh? And wasn't it neat that I was able to just do that while I was trying to answer somebody's important question? Okay. The other thing I want to leave you with is, Desiree, there are some how to handle employment gap videos on my YouTube channel too. Check those out. Okay. What else we got here? Okay, Slacker JB1 got a resume question. I've had an extensive career. The last role was 6 years, but I've worked at multiple companies over the years. Is it proper to truncate a work history, or do I start from day one? The answer is whatever sells you best. So if the last 30 years suits you best because you worked at awesome companies, let's just say, sake of argument, that you worked 6 years every company, that's 5 companies. If the first two were really good tech companies that were well known, that gave you experience, that was germane to wherever you're going, because it's a resume is a marketing document, it's not a work history document, meaning you package it in a manner that sells you best. There are certain expected etiquette principles that are in there, like show me your work history. And once you decide that you're going to start your resume's professional experience, meaning you could decide you wanted to start it in 2005, not 1995. But if you started in 2005, then show me the array of companies and don't take anything out. You asked about truncating. So what I would say is you can truncate if that sells you best. If the first 12 years or 10 years were irrelevant and you did something unrelated to what you're targeting, you take them off. If they were very relevant, you keep them on in whole. If they are minorly relevant, you stop it, let's say at 2005, and let's say you had 2 jobs and you did some work for them that was sort of relevant and you just really want to show you have more tech experience. You can say additional work experience and don't put dates, and then say worked for prominent companies such as Boom and Boom, doing technical analyst, Boom, for these platforms, for these types of projects. Fine, cool. Oh, he's got some more. And then that could help you without showing any age, right? So 30 years, that means you're 52. If you just went straight and you graduated college and you went straight, you could have gone out of high school and straight, but you get the idea. And so it's all about what markets you best. And there is infinitely many ways to package a resume. And don't, again, I get a little amped up. I'm calming myself right now. Don't listen to any coach that says to you, employers only care about the last 10 years or 15 years or 20 years. That's not true. They're hiring all of you, right? And so if you have experience that in your packaging of you makes you look better and shows me that you have these types of skills and you got them from an early age, that in my book improves you as a candidate. So there's a lot of ways to skin that, but that's my view on it. So my answer will always be, it depends. And then it becomes a function of how germane is it? What happens if, let's just say, between 1995 and 2010, you did something that was awesome. And then between 2011 and present, you still did awesome stuff, but you want to go back to the first 15 years of your life and you want to get back to that. Well, then you got to put it all on to say, I got 15 years of experience doing this, even though it was 15 years ago. That counts. So you see how you just can't, what are you going to do? Go to market with the last 15 years of your work experience, even though you want to get back to healthcare, but you've been in finance? So you got to use your noggin here. Okay, let's see. What else? Let's see. Naveen, they did the interview, and after the interview, the next day asked for referrals. I'm assuming you mean references, not referrals. References. Responded to HR, and it's been 3 weeks now. When I reached out to HR, she said she is waiting. She's waiting for what? She's waiting on a decision internally. So, okay, when you reach in, first thing is I would call, not email, because if you call and she picks up or he picks up, they can say, I'm waiting, right? You can go back and forth. What's the holdup? You won't ask it that way, but is there sharing, you're getting a sense of, is she waiting for somebody to get back? Did she say, well, we have 3 other candidates and what I'm doing now is we're trying to get through them. Now, if they asked for your references, that you should be down to the end. So now I don't know what company this is. And yes, some companies, I have people that I work with that email me. Let's say they email me today. They'll say, Andy, I interviewed yesterday. They told me an offer's coming. I need to get my references. I want to get a coaching session with you because I want you to help me negotiate. Then what happens is I say, okay, do you know when you're going to receive the offer? And then there's a few things that make our coaching session a little bit more juicy and fruitful. If you have the offer, if you at least have the information, like there's some things I want to know. And then they'll go weeks and they'll say, oh, they're still waiting. They have to approve it. So-and-so's on vacation. So-and-so's out of the country. Okay, well, this stuff happens. But so I don't know, are you dealing with a 15-person company? If you are, well, then you should wait 15 minutes, not 15 days. So it's hard for me to say if there's hope because I only know so much about it. But there's any number of issues that could come up. And the other thing is, if you have given them your references, the great likelihood is everything is fine. Maybe their internal process is a little clumsy. Let's hold out hope. Cool? Ernest, I can say the leadership program is amazing, worth its weight in gold. It is. Thank you, buddy. We'll see you tomorrow. Let's see how we doing. All right, I'm 2 minutes over. Let me see. What's this? Brandon, Ashley, I have been in your program for a while. I love the energy and enthusiasm you bring on these live events. If you are on the fence with the program, just do it. He's probably talking about the job search coaching program, but any of my programs, I deliver it with the same gusto. Okay, folks, I do need to run. Let me see. I think that's about all I can get in today. I wish you a lot of luck on your searches. My leaders, I'll see you tomorrow at 11. Replays available once we're done. Next week, I have a new video for you on Tuesday. On Thursday, we're off. I'm trying to get in as many coaching sessions and other things that I possibly can before we get into the Job Search Challenge week, which starts February 16th. Please attend it live. There are no free replays publicly available when we're done with the workshop. The members of the Job Search Coaching Program are going to get the replays of the teaching. I'm gonna assemble it in their library. So, but if you're not in the program, it's available to the public and you can attend live. But it's not. The recordings are not going to live for very long when we're done. In fact, they're only going to live less than one full day. So try to mark your calendars. You'll have time to catch up if you can't make everything throughout the week or you can't stay for every show. The shows are a little bit long because I teach, we do Q&A, we do a half an hour case study in there. There's a lot we go through, and it's a lot to take in, but it's really going to be helpful because I want you to see the teaching in real life. Cool. All right. I love you all. I love the attention that you give me. It's the most precious thing you can give anyone, so it is never lost on me. I hold it sacred. I hope I did you a solid today. If I didn't get to your question, hit me next time or drop them in the comments on the YouTube video. I do my best to try to answer as many of those each day as I can. I guess everybody have a good weekend. If you're a leader, I'll see you tomorrow. Otherwise, I'll see you in about 8 or 9 days for the Job Search Challenge. Be cool. Take care.